Inshallah, we'll speak on the subject matter that probably an estimated 5 billion people are watching right now. That is the World Cup. Not only specifically the World Cup, but the things that led up to the World Cup. There was a huge effort behind the organization of this global episode. So we'll just visit that right now. A few numbers. Last time we mentioned the global population of the world is 8 billion. And if 5 billion people are expected to view, that's over 60% of the entire world. So it just makes sense for us to discuss this. Again, the behind the scenes efforts that went on to prepare for this. We wanted to remind ourselves today regarding how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed this world we live in, that each and every single one of us are dependent on others, so that our day-to-day is as smooth as possible. Our functioning, our living, our surviving in this world depends on interactions and networking with our fellow human beings. So just this simple topic of labor, how labor allows for all of us sitting here to enjoy life on earth. And we want to also discuss the rights of a laborer in Islam. So this smooth operation of the world. And as Muslims, we want to take an opportunity right now. All of us sitting here might say, I'm not directly involved with the World Cup. So what does it matter to me? How is it associated with me? Well, we can look at our own individual selves, our own individual day-to-day, our own individual experience, that what does it take for my day to operate smoothly? And again, we will find again and we will appreciate, if we haven't already, the interdependency on our fellow man. And specifically, we're taking the occurrence of the World Cup to remind us of this subject matter. I believe it's 8 stadiums, a couple of 100 billion. How many thousands of workers it took to construct, and all of those things associated with the World Cup. We can take a lesson from it. And we should remind ourselves day in and day out, those who we depend on, are we taking the opportunity to appreciate them in what they do for us? Or are we simply on the receiving end? That, I'm entitled to it. If we're feeling already entitled, and it could be between spouses, right? A husband towards his wife, a wife towards her husband, children looking towards their guardians and parents, and vice versa. As parents age, they look towards their children for care. We want to take this opportunity to remind ourselves that interdependency is critical for our survival on this planet. Some of the verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us of this is, for example, in Surah Nisa. Very beautifully placed also the verse in Surah Nisa. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum wa la taqtulu anfusakum. The summary of this verse is basically reminding us that when there's any transaction between two parties, it should be that both parties are happy. No one is being coerced or forced into that transaction. And it's not lopsided. All parties involved are very happy moving forward. And the verse also reminds us that don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself in those endeavors, in those attempts. Can we also translate that as not overworking yourself, in other words? So the relationship between an employee and employer, and how that goes into being. I mean, many of us sitting here, we probably visited, let's take the best example we can think of in the Muslim world, Haramain, the two holiest sanctuaries that we all Muslims look to, and we certainly hope that we can visit. When we look at what it takes to maintain Haramain, and those of us who have the opportunity to visit Haramain, we can appreciate the magnitude just behind the cleaning operation. Forget about everything else, the mu'adhins, the imams, the speaker system, the masjid. Just look at the sanitation department. Those of us who have visited, many of us might look forward to helping those brothers financially, in whatever way we can. In that part of the world, here we're truly fortunate in America to have that understanding that there's a certain employee code of conduct. And if the employer manipulates or takes advantage of the employee, then the employee can at least stand up against the employer, form a union, a labor force, can go visit lawyers. The rest of the world does not have this luxury that you and I appreciate here in the United States. In parts of the world, these quote-unquote employees are, majority of the time, are migrant workers. Migrant workers meaning they're coming from other parts of the world. The host country might be paying them very minimum wage, if anything at all. So again, we're taking a look at that. We're looking at our own situation and our own experience, and we cannot demonstrate gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough in whatever position we are in this country. We are truly fortunate and we are truly blessed. Now there are some times in the year where maybe your workplace, your fellow co-workers, bosses, managers, they might take an opportunity to appreciate the workers, the employees. They might throw a party, and especially towards the end of the year, they definitely throw parties and they appreciate the worker, congratulating them that, hey, we were able to get through yet another year together as a token of appreciation. They either throw a party, they might have some bonuses, or whatever. They even have this concept known as Secret Santa. And now all of us sitting here, we know this terminology, Secret Santa. And the only question that I've ever received as an imam is, Imam, is this halal? Basically, how can I, as an imam, maybe give them a fatwa to get them out of it? And I'm not standing here today saying that we should celebrate Secret Santa. But how are we appreciating those who have made our lives easier? How are we doing it? If the non-Muslim community is doing whatever they can in that manner, in that field, are they surpassing us in appreciating one another? Some might say yes, they probably are surpassing us in demonstration of gratitude. And if we ever stand here or sit here and say that no, the non-Muslim community is not surpassing me, so what do we call our Secret Santa? Is it a secret fasting individual in Ramadan? Or is it like a secret Baqarah or something in Baqarah? If they are taking their annual occurrences and sharing gifts with one another and appreciate what are you and I doing. So again, today we wanted to touch on this subject matter that workers throughout the world, laborers, employees, employers, this relationship that we have as human beings on earth, and how we are interdependent on one another. The least we can do is verbalize gratitude, saying thank you. Thank you for making my life a little easier. Because we know that, and many of us sitting here might be enjoying the World Cup, and sometimes maybe even making dua and buka, that, oh Allah, please let my team win. But just remember what it took for this World Cup to come together, the behind the scenes, the migrant workers, the cheapest labor on earth. They were able to erect 8 stadiums, cheaper than one Los Angeles Rams football stadium. One football stadium, and we're talking American football, in America cost more than the 8 stadiums in Qatar. Let's just take a moment. How? And we're not even talking about the loss of life that was sort of just swept under the rug, because they're just numbers. Those migrant workers are just numbers of casualties that happen in building those 8 stadiums. We wanted to take this opportunity today to appreciate all of us sitting here. We're coming towards the end of the year. All of us work. I'm sure all of us work somewhere. We have an employer. Before we took that job, all of us sitting here knew beforehand that what is the description of my work that I'm going into? What place will I be working? What is the duration of my contract? What will be my salary? How many days will I have off on an annual basis? How many sick days will I have? All of these things were detailed. And again, all of us sitting here, it's expected. We're living in the United States. If the employer didn't present that to us before we took the job, we might not even consider that employer. But what about the rest of the world who survives on barely $1 a day? And also we want to remind ourselves that those individuals who are in our lives, are we taking the time out to appreciate them? It is the sunnah, after all, of our beloved Prophet ﷺ, that by giving gifts, the love increases, the mutual appreciation, gratitude, by sharing gifts and extending a token of appreciation in whatever way. Disclaimer, Imam did not encourage Secret Santa. But definitely you should find your own and have that intention between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What am I doing to allow for this sunnah to come back to life? And what am I doing to lead the way as a Muslim, as part of the ummah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to bring back this sunnah once again? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use us for spreading good in this world. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep all of us on Sirat al-Mustaqim.